Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 6th of June, 2016. The following is the Vedic astrology reading for Muhammad Ali based on the 17th of January, 1942 at 6:35 p.m. in Louisville, Kentucky. So Muhammad Ali was an American professional boxer, often considered the greatest heavyweight boxing champion in the history of the sport. He was an inspiring, controversial, and polarizing figure. He was declared the sportsman of the century by Sports Illustrated. At the age of 18, he won the light heavyweight gold medal at the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome. And then 4 years later, at the age of 22, he won the World Heavyweight Championship from Sonny Liston. It was 1964. That was considered a big upset. He was definitely an underdog, and he won this championship. Shortly after that, he joined the Nation of Islam and changed his name. It was previously Cassius Clay, so he changed it to Muhammad Ali. He's the only three-time world heavyweight champion. In other words, he won it in 64, he won it in 74, he won it in 78. Now, right in this gap here, about 3 years after he won the World Heavyweight Championship, in 1967, the United States military tried to draft him to fight in the war, and he refused. He was citing religious beliefs and his opposition to the Vietnam War. So he was arrested. He was found guilty on draft evasion. He was stripped of his boxing title for the next 4 years. Couldn't fight. Then in 1971, the Supreme Court overturned his conviction, so he returned to the boxing. But while he became a conscientious objector to the war, and that made him an icon for at the time, the larger counterculture generation of the early 70s. In 1984, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's syndrome, which sometimes happens from head trauma, such as boxing. He was married 4 times. He had 7 daughters and 2 sons. So let's take a look at this chart. I'm using the systems approach to interpreting horoscopes as developed by Professor V.K. Chowdhury in India. So we see it at the time of birth in the first house, the 4th sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 26 degrees, 29 minutes of Cancer. So Cancer is the 4th sign of the zodiac. It is a water sign and it is a movable sign. And it is a royal sign. It's ruled by the royal moon. Sun is the king of the planetary cabinet. Moon is the queen of the planetary cabinet. Moon rules this chart. So Cancer and Leo rising sign persons are royal rising signs. But this is a movable sign in the 1st house of self, movable sign in the 4th house of home life, movable sign in the 7th house of marriage and relationships, and movable sign in the 10th house of career. So movable sign persons are not afraid to go places and do things. Now in the 2nd house, he has the 5th sign Leo, ruled by the royal sun. Now this is Rahu, R-A-H-U, the northern node of the moon at 21 degrees, opposite Ketu, K-E-T-U, the southern node of the moon at 21 degrees. Now if these two were at 26 degrees, they would be causing trouble. See, this number here is not an arbitrary number. It's very specific to the exact time of birth. This becomes most effective point of every house. And any planet close to the most effective point has a tremendous impact. Now, if Rahu and Ketu were at 26 degrees, they would be causing afflictions in the houses they occupy an aspect. But they are not. So we would just say Rahu, which is the planet of charisma, magnetic personality, fame, fortune, energy, ambition, is in the 2nd house of wealth, status, and speech. So he was very persuasive with his speech. Very royal person. In the third house, we have the sixth sign Virgo, ruled by Mercury. So Mercury rules his self-efforts, his self-initiatives. And Mercury is in Capricorn, the seventh house, in the 10th sign Capricorn. Mercury's at 20 degrees, conjunct Moon, which rules the chart at 20 degrees. We also have Sun and we have Venus in this house. Now these four planets for the Cancer rising sign are considered functional benefic planets. None of these will ever cause harm. Sun rules wealth, status, and continuation of family life. Moon rules the very chart itself. Mercury rules the self-efforts, independence, self-initiatives, and communications. And Venus rules the fourth house of parents, property, happiness, domestic peace, and representing wife. But look at all this integration. This is all in Capricorn. Capricorn is very earthy and very practical, ruled by Saturn. So there's a lot of integration. Sun is Atmakaraka, significator for the soul. Moon is the heart and the emotional state. Mercury is the intellect. Venus is the creativity. All in Capricorn. There's a lot of power in the seventh house. Relationships, partnerships, joint ventures. And this is also connected with foreign lands. He did some boxing abroad. Won some titles in other countries. So we have the first ruler, Moon, the second ruler, Sun, the third ruler, Mercury, and the fourth ruler, Venus, all integrated here in the house of relationships. Now Venus is at 27 degrees, so it's close to the rising sign degree. So it's blessing the house of relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, and marriage, and comforts living abroad, and it's blessing the first house of self. See, one of the things is that he had a very good appearance. He was known as a very beautiful looking boxer, and Venus aspects the first house, and Venus is beauty, and is close to the rising sign degree. That also brought property and affluence to him, and women to him, 4 marriages. In the fifth house, we have the 8th sign Scorpio, 6th house, the 9th sign Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules the 6th house of conflicts and disputes. We can call this also the house of sports. And it's well placed in the 11th house in the 2nd sign of Taurus. So this is considered a well-placed Jupiter in good strength. That's good for health, and that's good for overcoming enemies and obstacles and winning in disputes. So his disputes were in the boxing ring primarily, but also he won disputes outside the boxing ring, such as legal battles over his draft evasion, that type of thing. Now, if this Jupiter was at 26 degrees, he'd be causing trouble, but it's not. So it's not causing trouble sitting here by itself. This also gives him gains in income through publishing. He wrote several books, authored several books, made money that way as well. And teaching and taking care of children. He was very good at that, Jupiter's children. So 7th house, 10th sign Capricorn, 8th house, 11th sign Aquarius. This is the house of mysticism, and Ketu, southern node of the moon, is known as Moksha Karaka, significator for spirituality and enlightenment. So I think they gave him an interest in religion and mystical experiences. 9th house, 12th sign Pisces, 10th house, 1st sign Aries. This is Saturn retrograde at 28 degrees 36 minutes. This is Mars at 10 degrees. Now Mars rules Aries. This is very, very powerful. Whenever a planet is in its own exaltation sign or Multrikona sign in a Kendra, this is a Kendra, then it becomes known as a Panch Mahapurusha Yoga, one of the 5 great yogas. This one's called Bhadra Yoga. And what is Mars? Mars is sports, competition, military, police, competition, sports. So this made him this is like an executioner. This is very, very powerful Mars sitting here in the 10th house of career. And Saturn is sitting here, and Saturn is often leading the masses. So he had great mass appeal here with Saturn in the 10th house. 11th house, second sign Taurus, 12th house, third sign Gemini. Now, it wasn't all without controversy or health issues. Jupiter rules the 6th house of conflict and health issues and mental tension. And it throws an aspect 5 houses away, 7 houses away, and 9 houses away. So this is 18, almost 19 degrees. It doesn't bother Sun. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Sun. It doesn't bother Venus. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Venus. But it certainly afflicts Moon, ruling the chart, and Mercury, ruling the self-efforts and communications. So there was he was a very controversial figure, often spoke, that created a lot of controversy when he was younger and was against the war and becoming a Muslim and arguing with people and even saying at one point that he didn't like white people. His fight was with white people, not the Viet Cong. So Jupiter ruling conflict brings a lot of conflict to him and relative to communications and speech. And I think it also brings health problems. So that's Jupiter on the Moon probably caused this Parkinson issue, and on Mercury. That's the nervous system. So that's where it came from, is this guy right here, Jupiter, causing trouble. Let's take a look at some of the timing of events here. Okay, he won the Summer Olympics at 1960, so he would have been in the Rahu main period and the Mercury subperiod. So again, Rahu can be fame and fortune, energy and ambition, in the house of wealth and status, ruled by the royal sun, which is the king. So it makes Rahu kind of a sun-like planet. And Mercury is with Moon, ruling the chart. It's very powerful, under the influence of Jupiter, so that's competition. 1964, during Venus, he wins the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. He also won in 74, Mercury subperiod. 78, Venus subperiod. See how good those are? In 1967, he refused the military service. So I don't know if that was the first half of 66 or the second half. I mean, 67. See, if it was before the middle of June, it would have been the Sun subperiod. Otherwise, it would be the Moon subperiod. And both of those are strong. Sun is government. Moon rules the chart. He finally overcame his enemies and won during Jupiter main period and Jupiter subperiod. Very strong Jupiter. (1984) Parkinson's. Rahu subperiod. And the tail end of Jupiter, the last subperiod of Jupiter, is Rahu, and usually Rahu takes things away from a person. And in fact, see, he's in a Rahu subperiod. He just passed away recently. In a Rahu subperiod and in a Mercury main period. So Mercury, there's the nervous system, Parkinson, under the affliction of Jupiter. And Moon ruling the chart under the affliction of Jupiter. So he never got to the Jupiter period. He died here in the Rahu subperiod. So this is the birth chart. The center circle is the birth chart. The outer circle is the transit chart. So the rising sign degree is 26 degrees. Well, transit Rahu and Ketu were at 27 degrees for all of February, March, and April this year, and then they went 26, 25, 24. So he's been under a severe Rahu Ketu affliction this year. Whenever Rahu and Ketu transit close to your rising sign degree, they have an impact where they occupy and where they aspect. So the rising sign is 26 degrees. Rahu and Ketu were at 23 degrees. Actually, if we go back a few days earlier, it was probably 24 degrees. Well, 23 is fine. But see, Rahu has been afflicting Jupiter. See, Rahu and Jupiter were in exact conjunction for January and February. Then Jupiter went retrograde and separated from Rahu. Now it's back on top of Rahu. They're applying. So transit Rahu, transit Jupiter on top of natal Rahu. So this is a three-way affliction. This Rahu and Jupiter are afflicting this Rahu. And this Rahu is afflicting this Rahu and Jupiter as well. So there's three malefic planets all afflicting each other. This Rahu is afflicting Jupiter, this Rahu is afflicting Jupiter. Jupiter is afflicting this Rahu, Jupiter is afflicting this Rahu. Same thing with Ketu over here. One other point that I wanted to bring out, the question comes up, why 4 marriages? And I think that has to do with Saturn. Saturn rules this 8th house. So Saturn for Cancer is the most malefic planet. And it is on the rising sign degree. Close to it. 28 to 26. Saturn throws an aspect 3, 7, and 10 houses away. And there it is. Saturn causes obstruction, delays, disappointments with relationships, and specifically with Venus, wife, marriage. But it causes setbacks and disappointments in foreign lands. I think he lost one of his championship battles in a foreign land. It afflicts the 4th house, can cause some accidents and trauma at home, and then it also aspects this 7th house. So it definitely causes trouble relative to Venus and undermines the strength of these planets, including longevity of life and health and government. Sun is the government. Saturn ruling the 8th house of disappointments and setbacks, obstructions. So they caused trouble for him. Took away his title for almost 4 years. That was his prime time for boxing. So there was some problems here with the Saturn situation. And then the Jupiter on the Moon and Mercury for health and communications. So these are the main points from his chart. He was a very, very special man. When you watch some of these videos of things he did a lot of charity work. He was very humorous. He really cared about people. He really cared about religion. He wanted us to be a good world. So he's a good man, very powerful sports figure, but very powerful leadership type of person. Okay, these are the main points from the chart for Muhammad Ali. Namaste.